those Chauvet pars, I have a bag of about 8 of them. So on their own, individually, they're not too bad, but 8 of them together, not super heavy, but it's probably, it's a hefty bag. So something to keep in mind depending on how many you're going to have, how you're going to group them together. Um, I like the flexibility of being able to do uplighting. Um, Now, like I said earlier in the video with the Chauvets, they've now come out with a newer version that takes the wireless, the DeFi, but it takes the USB dongles, which is, they're not, you don't have to worry about charging them after the fact and turning them on, turning them off. So, I would say with my setup right now, that's probably the weakest link is if I'm using those, having to pull out the DeFi dongles, make sure they're charged up, turn them on and off, and then pull them down and put them in their case at the end of the night. All in all, with the lighting that I had up there, it really took about, I'm going to say maybe 15 minutes at the most. I don't think it took more than 20, probably 15 minutes to set up the stands, get the lights out of their cases, get them on. And then tearing down in reverse, probably about the same. I think it added 15 minutes to my setup time and 15 minutes to my teardown time, which for lighting I think is really good because I didn't have to roll up DMX cables at the end. I didn't have to roll up a whole bunch of power cables. Now, with those color keys, that is my only concern. Is it's great that they're battery powered. I don't know yet if they can make it through a 4-hour gig. I had them on, I'm going to say for probably about 4 hours. They were probably on for almost an hour before the gig started, but I did have them, on standby. They were blacked out, so they shouldn't have been using that much energy. By the end of the second set, when I went to go look at the battery amount, it was down to 2 bars. Could I have squeezed an extra hour out of that? Maybe. I don't know how fast they drain when they get down to that level. So I'll still have to do some experimenting with them. The 2-hour gigs, I would have no problem at all having those out for 2-hour gigs. So the nice part about the color keys, though, is that if you're going to plug them in, they are PowerCon, which is nice, and they do come with really long cables. So even if they're on a stand and they're up high, you still have a lot of cable to be able to get them plugged in where you want. So overall, I think it was a success using those. If you got to go for lighting and you want the most streamlined approach, look into battery-powered lights, look into wireless DMX. There was one other component tonight, and it's kind of been a theme in some of my prior videos. I've been having a rough time with the DeFi over distance. Now, I don't know if that's the dongle I'm using. Maybe it's going bad. Maybe I need to switch it out and try something different. Because I don't recall having that problem until about this year. But when the crowd was getting up and when the crowd was moving around and dancing, I noticed that there was some delay, like the bodies were blocking that wireless signal. It does work off of 2.4 gigahertz. Maybe there was some cross traffic with the generic wireless that the other lights were using. That could definitely be a factor too. But what seemed to work is, and in a prior video I talked about this P-Night box. It's one of the only ones I found. I'm sure there's others out there, but this is the only one I've found that actually works off of Wi-Fi. And it takes a DMX in signal, converts it to SACN or ArtNet. Now, it can be hardwired into your network, which is nice. So you can use a network cable to convert regular DMX to SACN and run it right down. So you could use any kind of controller with it and any kind of node for ArtNet or SACN. But the way I've been using it is using that Wi-Fi. Now, it only works off of 2.4, So that's something to keep in mind. You won't be able to connect to a 5G if you use that exclusively. You do have to have 2.4. But I've hooked it into my router via Wi-Fi, and for that last set when I was running it that way, I had no delay at all. So what I did is I ran it over Wi-Fi. I have an old DMX King node, single universe DMX out. So converting out of SACN to regular DMX, put that into the DeFi transmitter, and that with it being side stage, again, there were no issues there. So I think if you're going wireless DMX, your proximity to the stage is going to be important. Again, a lot of times wireless DMX is being used by DJs, I see, and usually their lighting is pretty close to them. I think, you know, when they do uplighting and things like that, that might be the furthest away it gets. But you know, having your controller far away from some of your major lighting, like especially if you're doing like moving lights and things like that, I think the proximity is an important factor there. But this P-Night the device seems to be filling that gap. So I'm excited to continue to try that at some additional events that I'll be doing. As we move along here, I probably am going to use that P-Night controller at whatever my front of house position is. And that way I'm wirelessly controlling my mixing, I'm wirelessly controlling my DMX, and my front of house can basically go wherever I want it to, because just about everything can be battery powered at that point. Or I could run an extension cord to what I'm using as well. So all in all, again, just to conclude here without running on and on and on, I think the wireless DMX battery-powered fixtures definitely save time. Not having to figure out how to run DMX and run power to all the different fixtures definitely saves a good chunk of time. Not having to bring all of those extra power cables and DMX cables and fish them out and have cases for them and load them in and load them out, also a factor there. So I think the technology is, you know, it's come a long way, and I think we're going to continue to see it, and it'll be a great thing for these you know, bar type gigs, for these you know, single band type gigs where you're only doing about 2 hours to 4 hour performances. I think it definitely has potential there, and I'm going to keep using it, and I'm going to, you know, keep looking out for fixtures as technology you know, continues to come out. I think we're going to see a lot more with that. So with that said, thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you again for your comments, and please subscribe to the channel. That way you can have alerts when new videos come out. I'm going to continue to produce content, and you know, basically they're all gig logs now, but once we get into the winter season where things slow down a little bit, maybe I'll be able to focus on particular products and some other strategies and different things that I utilize here as part of In the Mix, Light and Sound. So thank you again, and on to the next one.